What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my mission experiences here. Alrighty, so we are back in Ushuaia as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed that last episode. That was a really fun episode to film last time. So, all right, let's see here. So, you saw that last picture of us jumping. The sister missionaries took it. This is how tight of a district we were. We were super close. We had a lot of friends. We were all really good friends in this district, and we just had a lot of fun. So this picture was just a fun picture that we took together. We actually recreated this picture at another point, right at the very end of all of our missions. It was about a transfer or two transfers before I went home, same as her, and then she was going home. The transfer that we took the recreate of this picture. But so this is a really fun district. Funny story. After this picture was taken, a couple days prior, I was doing my district meeting calls, and I get a phone call from Sister Carrasco, and she's like, "Hey, Elder, I hurt my arm pretty bad," and I was like, "What did you do? Did you fall? Did you fall on ice? Did you hurt it?" And she's like, "No, but I'm pretty sure it's broken." I said, "How did you break your arm?" She said, "I don't want to tell you," and I was all like, "Why?" And she's like, "I hurt my arm putting on my socks," and I laughed hysterically, and I was just all like, "Are you being goofy? Are you being silly? Like, are you being kind of a baby here? Did you actually hurt your arm?" And so we totally like pushed it off. And she's like, "Well, I think I kind of need to go to the doctor." I was just like, "I don't think you actually need to go to the doctor. I think you may have pulled a muscle or something. Just give it a couple days. I bet you it'll become better." And we left it at that. I talked to Sister Bushman later, a couple days later, and she's all like, I think it really hurts her. She's been complaining quite a bit about her arm, and it's been bothering her quite a bit." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, like it can't be that bad." Anyways, so this is a Sunday. We took this at the church building, and then our ward started at 2:30 p.m. and got out at 5 p.m. And so it was always dark by the time we got out because of the winter solstice down there and everything. So, anyways, so on this day in particular, we get out of church, and Sister Carrasco goes, "Elder Passy, I really need to go to the hospital. Like, I need to go get my arm checked out. It's hurting. It's swollen. Like, it's pretty bad." And so, me being kind of annoyed with the whole situation, I was like, "All right, let's go." So we went to go take them. We wouldn't take them to the hospital because the hospitals were free. We took them to a specialty clinic, which was, it cost money, but you'd get in faster. Like, I went to the hospital one time in my first transfer in Ushuaia. We waited 6 hours for them to get in and be like, "Oh, you're fine. Here, let me prescribe you an antibiotic. You have a nasal infection," or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, so we took them to this specialty clinic, and it's probably like a mile from the church building. And so we walked with them down there, and meanwhile we're walking, and the moon is huge, just massive. And so we're like, "Oh, let's take pictures. This looks really cool." So we like took some pictures, and I feel so bad now. But anyways, we dropped them off. We hop on the bus, and we get back to the apartment. We're in the apartment, and we're doing our weekly planning, and I get a phone call from Sister Bushman, and she goes, "Elder, just saying, you're probably gonna get a call from Hermana Salerno." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Sister Carrasco broke her arm, and it's broken pretty bad." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Her arm is broken from putting on a pair of socks?" And she's like, "Yeah, but we're gonna tell everybody that she slipped on ice and broke her arm because she's really embarrassed about the putting on her socks thing." Sorry, Sister Carrasco, for putting this out there in the world, but I think it's kind of a funny story, so I've got to tell it now. Plus, I got chewed out by Sister Sister Salerno because of this. Anyways, sure enough, a couple minutes later, I get a phone call from Sister Salerno, and she's all like, "Elder, why did you like not take her to the hospital earlier?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't think she broke her arm putting on her socks." So, anyways, it's kind of a really funny thing, but it was really sad afterwards because Sister Bushman, at the end of this transfer, she got sent to Calafate, my starting area, and Sister Carrasco stayed and was training a sister missionary from Mexico. But her arm wasn't healing the way it needed to be, and they said it was because of the elevation of Ushuaia, that the elevation was super low, or yeah, it was super low, and due to that, there was some issue with the healing in her bones. And so she ended up being emergency transferred, and it was really sad because I was super close to this district, and it was a really fun district, and so it was kind of a bummer. I ended up being Sister Carrasco's district leader again for 3 transfers in Colette Olivia. So I was reunited with part of my district here, and Elder Dixon at that time was also in Pico Truncado. So I was reunited with this part of the district. So it was pretty exciting to have all that happen later on. But that was kind of a funny story. I felt really bad afterwards, and it actually bonded Sister Carrasco and I to be uh, more chill with each other, because I felt really, really bad that her arm was actually broken, and I totally made her walk to to the hospital and everything. And I believed her. And Sister Carrasco, I have to say, the best sister missionary I ever met in the mission. She was on top of her stuff. She was amazingly fluent in Spanish because her mom was from Chile, but she was just like a genius. Um, Sister Carrasco was just an amazing, amazing missionary that I have a lot of respect for, and I have a lot of respect for to this day. And she just was phenomenal. Always, always, always found and taught investigators the way they needed to be taught, and she was just a phenomenal missionary. So, Sister Carrasco, if you ever see these videos in the future, I think very highly of you. So, all right, here's another goofy picture that we decided to take as a district. I love this picture so much. We also recreated this picture later on. It was so funny. Man, this is just how close this district was. Even though there were 2 other areas in this district, the 5 of us right here, we were just all so close. We're all really good friends. This was Dos Banderas. This is that little road um that took you up to Flavio's house. And we were up there one night, and these trees are really, really thick. And they're not like pine trees that you would see in like northern Arizona or like a normal forest. It was just like all these super tall, slender trees. Um and I think that is because the elevation of Ushuaia is super weird. Being like a it's a bay, but anyways, these trees were really weird. They're really thick, and they grew like crazy everywhere. And they were kind of just a pain. But we were taking these pictures, and Elder Dixon, I think, took a picture of me like this, and the flash went off. And I have the picture somewhere. I'll have to find it. When I go through all of my pictures later on in our videos, and I do a big long video of that, I'll have to show the picture. But in that picture, it literally looked like there were a set of red eyes behind me, and it was freaking scary. When we were looking at it, we're like, is there something behind us? And every time we walked through this area at night, all I could think of was Slenderman. Uh, how scary that whole topic is, and it would freak me out. I was like, are we gonna get chased by some like creepy creature out here? Anyways, never happened, because obviously that stuff doesn't exist. But it was funny. I was evil to Elder Dixon and Elder Peterson because I was with them during the time of year that it snowed the most. When we were walking, the canopy of these trees a lot of times like was over the road, and so I would run up a couple feet ahead of them, and I just like hit the tree, and all the snow would go falling down on top of them, and I'm pretty sure both of them hated me for that. So there was also one time that we were walking down the road, and it was kind of just a trend with the missionaries, and I know in other missions they did it too, but you would try to kick pebbles between your companions' feet as they were in a stride. So like when they were walking, you try to kick a pebble between their feet, and you kind of keep points or like make a system out of it. Anyways, it was a tendency that we had, and I remember one day we were walking, and Elder Dixon decided to kick like an ice block. It was probably about this big, and it like he kicked it, and it like bounced up and hit me in the ankle, dude. Oh, dude, that thing put me on the ground. It was like if you got hit in the ankle with a scooter. I was so upset about that, but it's funny to look back on now, and to laugh about now. Um, oh my gosh, this is Noel. I love Noel so much. He was just he I don't know what the the medical term for what he had was, but um it was pretty close to the equivalent of a Down syndrome, I think. He couldn't talk, but he was very intelligent, and he was very loving, and you could just always feel the light of Christ in Noel. I remember one day I was feeling a little bit down, and Noel just looked at me. We're at church, and he just walked over and gave me the biggest hug, and it meant so much to me. I was really, really close to Noel, and I love Noel. He would pass the sacrament, and he was just good at what he did. And oh my goodness, he was just a good guy. I love Noel so much, man. Let's see here. Um, here's one of those pictures that I was talking about with the like red eyes behind me. This isn't the one, but um, so this is after transfers. Transfer calls happened, and Elder. So originally, backstory a little bit. About 4 weeks into the transfer, we had zone conference, and every zone conference you have one-on-one interviews or companionship interviews with the mission president, and um, Elder Peterson and I get called in because we were both joint district leaders. Elder Peterson and I get called in, and we're talking to our mission president. Our mission president says, "We have an emergency in the mission. One of the elders broke his femur and he has to go home. He's an elder from Portugal. Anyways, we need to take Elder Dixon from you. Because you guys are in a trio, we're going to take Elder Dixon for you. We're going to put him in Comodoro. Um, so just be prepared for this to happen." And Elder Peterson and I were kind of like taken aback, like, "Oh, what do we do?" And all of a sudden, my mission president stops and he goes, "Actually, before I make that executive decision, what are your guys' thoughts on it?" He said, I recommend you give it a couple minutes, think about it, pray about it, and come back and talk to me. So Elder Peterson and I really went and discussed it, and we prayed about it, and we went back in, and both of us said, uh, "The president, we think it would be best if Elder Dixon stayed. We think that it would really stunt his growth as a missionary if he was just abruptly taken, especially being in his training, abruptly taken and put elsewhere." And my mission president stopped and he thought about it for a minute. He's like, "Yeah, I agree. That makes sense." So he's like, "We're not going to take Elder Dixon from you anymore. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out another way." So anyways, that was pretty surprising because right then and there, my mission president told us that Elder Peterson and I were going to be companions the following transfer again, and we'd probably be with Elder Dixon again at that point. And it was a big surprise when transfer calls came around and Elder Peterson got transferred. It was really really hard because I was really sad because I loved Elder Peterson. I was really looking forward to having another transfer or two with him, but it didn't happen. Elder Peterson went to, I believe, Pico Truncado to train another missionary, and I was really bummed about that. It was really hard to say goodbye. But this is a Sister Crespo. She came in 3 weeks into the mission, 3 weeks before I did, and so we had about the same time in the mission. And this is her going home. So this is oh wait, was this her going home? No, I think she had one or two more transfers after this. So this was her going to another zone. And so we were saying goodbye to Sister Crespo. Sister Bushman got called to Calafate, so that was really exciting. She was really sad about leaving Ushuaia. She was really, really bummed because she was only there for one transfer. But she was I hyped her up and I was like, "You should be so excited to be going to Calafate. That is such an amazing area." So we hyped her up there. Um, as you can kind of tell in this picture, she was a little bit sad. Her and Sister Carrasco were really, really close and really good friends. And so it was really hard for them to say goodbye to one another. So here's Elder Peterson. This was really, really hard for me and really hard for Elder Peterson to say goodbye. And we were here. This was the bus pickup. I think we got there at like 4:30 in the morning because the bus would take the missionaries across the bay and everything. Excuse me. It would take them all the way up to wherever they needed to go. I did this bus ride 3 times, and I was on the bus each of those 3 times for about 48 hours, and it was miserable. So do not recommend it in the least bit. So um here are these three dogs, man. They followed us all the time in my mission. Anytime we walked past where they lived, they would follow us, and they would follow us for hours. And then the next day, we'd lose them when we went into an appointment or whatnot. They'd just be gone. And the next day, of course, they'd be right back where their home was. They're so smart. These dogs are so intuitive in the sense that they can just find where they need to be going like easy. It's bizarre. It's bizarre to me that they can find their way home. So they would follow us all the time. They loved to play fetch. These three dogs, like generally you touch a rock, dogs would scatter. These three, they'd be like, oh, throw the rock, and they'd bring it back to you. It was so funny. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot about this. So we're gonna play this. This is Elder Dixon and I. So funny story about the pianos in Argentina. A lot of people didn't play piano. A lot of people didn't play the organ. And so what they did is they had these programmed pianos that no matter what key on the piano you touched, if you touched it to the right rhythm, it would play the music no matter what. You didn't have to play all the keys. You could just play one key. And so a lot of times when we were singing in church, there'd be a young woman up there just touching the key. She'd learn how to play to tempo, so she'd play the right tempo of the song, but they'd just be touching one key over and over and over and over. So that's what Elder Dixon and I are doing here, and we're singing. I believe hope. I'm trying to remember what song it is now, but let's see if we can record the or get the audio to work here. Oh, there it is, right there. All right.
Oh, mission. Oh,
So funny.
teach, teach, missionaries. Ah, oh, Father, please be ready. Teach, teach, missionaries do.
Oh my goodness, that was hilarious, man. That brings almost tears to my eyes, man. That was just such a fun time. Elder Dixon and I got along really, really well. Oh my goodness. I love Elder Dixon so much. That was just such a fun time in my mission. We were there on P Day and that's when we did that. So it was super funny. Super funny to have that experience with Elder Dixon. Oh man. Elder Dixon and I were super close. This is a fun hike that we went on with a lot of the member or with I think a couple of members went with us, but a lot of the missionaries went. But one little quick backstory about Elder Dixon is when you're getting adjusted to mission life, it's really hard, especially as a young missionary, when you're going out and hiking these hills and these back areas all day, every day, and then trying to stick to a schedule of getting up early and going to bed late and everything. It's just really hard. And I know it was really hard for Elder Dixon at the very beginning of his mission. And Elder Dixon was a very obedient missionary. I'll say that right away. But I know that it was hard for him to get up. And I have a video somewhere. I told Elder Dixon, I'm like, Elder Dixon, if you don't get up on time, I'm going to teabag you. And he's like, that's disgusting, Elder. I can't believe you'd say that. And what I meant by that is I had mate cocido packets. And so one morning he was struggling to get up. He got up off of his bed. When we were in a trio, we had a bunk bed and we had a bed that was on the ground, and he liked to sleep on the ground. So he got up off the bunk bed one morning and got in my bed and fell back asleep reading his scriptures. And so I went and got two mate cocido packets, and I went and, like, straddled him and I started hitting him in the face with these mate cocido packets, or like tea packets, tea bags. And that was me teabagging Elder Dixon, which was so funny. Anyways, I have a video of it somewhere with that Elder Peterson took, but he woke up and he was startled and he kind of like pushed me, and I actually hit my back on like a screw or something and cut my back, which that's the price I paid for harassing Elder Dixon. But just super funny story of Elder Dixon. Another fun story is this hike right here. I cannot remember what it was called, but it was a really, really cool hike. I'm trying to think. This may have been Laguna de Esmeralda, or the Emerald Lake. Um, I think that's what hike this is. Which I did this hike a couple of times while I was in Ushuaia. My 5.5 transfers in Ushuaia, but you have to walk through this like little encampment place where they train like sledding dogs. And I remember the first time we ever did this hike, we're hiking and the sisters got ahead of us. And all of a sudden, after a couple minutes of walking, the sister missionaries come back running and screaming bloody murder. And they're like, there's wolves, there's wolves. And all of a sudden, around the corner comes this like train of dogs and a sledder on, on these sleds. And it was so funny because the sister missionaries got so freaked out. They thought this person, they thought that they were wolves that were chasing them. Anyways, it was hysterical. Just a super funny thing to have happen. We'll leave this picture for the next episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.